Do you really believe that apps that pay real money exist? Or do you think it's just another internet scam? Stop for a second and think about this. How many times have you seen someone saying you can make money online using just your cell phone? How many times have you downloaded an app, started out excited, and then realized it was a waste of time? Promises of extra income, easy money, quick gains. It all seems good at first, but almost always ends in frustration. Have you ever been through this? The truth is, the world of making money online is full of empty promises. Apps that claim to pay but never allow withdrawals. Platforms that demand hours of your time for pennies. And worst of all, you start to doubt whether there really is a simple and real way to make money online. And that's exactly where most people give up. But what if I told you that not everyone is like that? What you're about to discover might surprise you. Because I decided to test this for myself, without trusting any promises, without believing any advertising. I downloaded, used, and fully utilized each of these apps. I tested the time, the effort, the return, and most importantly, I tried to withdraw the money. And that's where everything changes. Because among the many apps that don't work, there are a few that actually pay. It's not magic, it's not easy money, the way they sell it, but it's not impossible as it seems either. There's a huge difference between those who just talk and those who actually test. Stick with me until the end, because what I'm going to show you here isn't theory, it isn't speculation, it's real experience. I'm going to show you which apps work, which ones aren't worth your time, and, most importantly, what you need to understand before you start using any of them. And maybe now you're wondering, but is it really worth it? Can you really make money doing this? Hold on, because before I show you the apps I tested and what happened in each one, you need to understand why most people end up being scammed in this kind of thing. And that's exactly what we're going to start exploring now. And before we continue, let me tell you something important, because maybe everything I'm saying already makes sense to you. Maybe you've already experienced this frustration, already wasted time with apps that promise online money and deliver nothing. And if this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below about what has resonated with you the most so far. It could be an experience you've had, an app you've tested, or even what you truly hope to find in this type of opportunity. This isn't just about commenting, it's about building something together. Because when you share your experience, you help other people who are in the exact same situation, trying to understand what works and what doesn't in this world of online extra income. And one more thing, if you're finding value in this type of content, if it's helping you see more clearly how to realistically make money online, please leave a like on this video. It helps much more than it seems. It's what makes YouTube understand that this content needs to reach more people who are also tired of false promises. And if you want to keep seeing real, no-nonsense tests, showing you what really pays off and what's a waste of time, subscribe to the channel, because that's precisely the idea here, to filter everything for you and show you only what's worthwhile. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this type of content. And that transforms this space into something much bigger than just a video. Now that you understand why so many people end up being scammed by these apps, it starts to make much more sense to look more closely at what really works. And that's exactly where we get to the most interesting part of all this. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because there's a pattern that repeats itself in the journey of almost everyone who tries to make money with apps. In the beginning, there's excitement. You download the app, create expectations. Imagine you've finally found a way to generate extra income online. But over time, reality begins to set in. Repetitive tasks, low rewards, promises that never seem to materialize. And the most frustrating thing isn't even the money. It's the feeling of being cheated, of investing your time in something that doesn't generate a real impact on your life. This gradually affects your mindset. You start to doubt opportunities, platforms, and even yourself. As if the internet were a game where only a select few know the rules. This is the hidden truth that no one reveals behind the scenes. Most people don't fail because they don't try, but because they don't know how to differentiate what really works from what only seems to work. And this directly influences the decisions you make throughout your journey. But when you start to see this pattern clearly, something changes. And it is precisely this change that opens up space for a new way of thinking and acting. Comment below, I've been through this before. And now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because this is where one of the biggest shifts in perception occurs. Most people believe that all these apps are a waste of time, that nothing works, and that making money online this way is impossible. But this conclusion actually comes from incomplete experiences, decisions based on frustration, and a limited view of what is really happening behind the scenes. The truth is, yes, many apps don't pay, and that's a fact. But what almost no one talks about is that there are a few that work and really work. The problem is that they're hidden among so many bad options. And those who don't know how to filter end up giving up before finding something that truly makes an impact. This is the game-changing revelation. It's not about believing or disbelieving. It's about knowing how to test things the right way. When you change that mindset, everything transforms. You stop acting impulsively and start making more strategic, more conscious decisions. And that's exactly what I did. Instead of trusting what people say, I went straight to the source. I tested, used, and pushed each application to its limits. And what I found was quite different from what most people imagine. Comment below. Now I'm curious, but I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because after understanding all of this, the next step in the journey is to look at applications with a completely different perspective. No longer as random promises, but as tools that need to be analyzed with criteria, strategy, and attention to detail. It was with exactly this mindset that I selected these 3 apps. I didn't choose just any app, I went after the most talked about ones, the ones that appear most often when people talk about making money online, and I put them all to the test. I downloaded them, used them for days, tested each function, understood how they worked behind the scenes, and, most importantly, I got to the point that really matters, the withdrawal, because that's where most fail. Many apps seem good at first, but when it comes to turning effort into real money, everything changes. And that's the part that almost no one shows clearly. Each of these apps has a different logic, a different purpose, and a completely different level of impact on your online income journey. And when you start to look at it more closely, you realize it's not just about using them. It's about understanding how to use them the right way. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you now, starting with the first app I tested. Comment below. I want to see the apartments PS at now. I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because the first app already reveals a lot about how this universe really works behind the scenes. When I started using it, the idea seemed simple. Perform small tasks, accumulate points, and then convert them into money. Nothing too different from what you've probably already seen. In the beginning, everything flows well. You feel like you're making progress, that you've finally found something that can generate results. But it's precisely at this point that a more strategic analysis comes in. I started observing the time invested, the return generated, and, most importantly, its consistency over time. Because it's no use looking good at the beginning if you can't sustain it in the long run. And here's an important truth. This app does pay, but the impact depends a lot on how you use it. It's not something that will transform your life on its own, but it can be a first step on that journey if you understand how to extract value from it. And that difference between expectation and reality is what completely changes your perception. When I went to test the serve, which is where everything is truly put to the test, that's when the experience started to get more interesting. Comment below. I want to know the result. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because the second app offered a completely different experience, and this is where things start to get more interesting. Right from the start, the concept seemed more structured, with tasks that were a little more organized and a greater sense of progress. Unlike the first app, here you feel that each action has more weight, as if the system was designed to generate more engagement. But that's exactly when I started looking more closely at the details. Because what seems best on the surface doesn't always actually generate better results in the long run. I analyzed the time spent, the return per task, and, most importantly, the consistency of the gains over the days. And this revealed something important. This app may deliver more value in less time, but it requires more attention and strategy. It's not just about using it for the sake of using it. Here, your decisions make a difference. How you interact, what you choose to do, everything directly impacts the outcome. And that already shows progress on the journey, because you stop being passive and start acting with more intention. When the time came to withdraw the funds, that's when the truth began to emerge more clearly. Comment below. This one looks better, or, I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because the third app was where everything really started to make sense. From the beginning, the experience already felt different. More direct, clearer, without that excess of promises or confusing steps. And that, in itself, completely changes how you approach the journey. Here, each action had a more defined purpose. The return wasn't immediate to the point of seeming unreal, but it also wasn't slow to the point of being demotivating. There was a balance, and that balance is rare on this type of platform. It was at that moment that I realized an important hidden truth. It's not just about paying. It's about how the system is built to maintain consistency over time. I started testing more intensely, repeating the process, observing the patterns, understanding the inner workings of how it actually generated results. And the impact was clear, not only in the accumulated value, but in the predictability. You start to feel that you have control, that your decisions really influence the final result. And when the time came to withdraw the money, that's when the confirmation that many people were looking for arrived. Comment below. This is the best. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because there's a point that many people ignore, and that's exactly what creates the wrong expectations. Even if these apps pay, even if some actually work, there's a clear limit that you need to understand from the beginning. This isn't a magic solution. It's not something that will generate an instant transformation in your financial life. What happens behind the scenes is very different from what they sell out there. These apps function as a gateway, an initial way to generate extra income, But the real impact depends entirely on your mindset and the decisions you make along the way. If you go in thinking you'll get rich quick, frustration will follow. But if you go in understanding its role within a larger process, everything changes. This is the hidden truth. The problem was never the app itself, but the way people perceive and use these opportunities. When you adjust that perspective, you start using these tools with more strategy, more awareness, and much better results. And it is precisely this change of perspective that separates those who merely try from those who truly evolve in this game. Comment below. Now and you stretch. At now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because all of this only starts to have a real impact when you change the way you see the process. It's not about finding the perfect app, it's about developing a mindset that transforms small opportunities into something bigger over time. That's the difference between those who try to make money online and those who truly build financial growth. Behind the scenes, what makes someone evolve isn't luck, nor a single result. It's consistent decisions. It's understanding that each small action is part of a larger journey. When you start looking at these apps as tools, and not as the final solution, your perspective changes completely. You begin to act with more clarity, more strategy, and less emotion. And this generates a silent transformation. You stop depending on promises and start creating your own path. You learn to test, adjust, improve, and above all, to keep going even when the result hasn't yet appeared as expected. The hidden truth is that growth comes from those who keep the momentum going, even when it seems small. And when you get into that rhythm, everything starts to evolve differently. He comments there, I am also on that journey. I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding how to leverage this in the right way is what truly transforms results into progress. It's not just about using one app or another, it's about how you integrate it into your routine, your decisions, and your long-term vision. Most people jump in, test it for a few days, and stop. But those who evolve begin to think differently. You can, for example, combine these apps. Distribute your time more intelligently and observe which ones generate the most return within your reality. This already completely changes the impact. Another important thing is to treat this as a process, not as something immediate. The more you understand the inner workings of each platform, the more you can adjust your strategy and extract real value. And here's a simple yet powerful revelation. Small, consistent actions, when well-directed, generate far greater results than random attempts. That's what builds a foundation. That's what creates growth over time. When you start applying this consciously, your journey stops being one of trial and error and becomes one of strategic evolution. Comment below. I'll test it like this, And if you've made it this far, it's because you were truly looking for something more real, more direct, without those empty promises we see everywhere. And that alone says a lot about your mindset and the kind of results you want to achieve. If this content brought you clarity, if it helped you better understand how to make money online in a more conscious way, subscribing to the channel is just a natural step to continue evolving with this kind of vision. The idea here is precisely to filter what works and save you time on this journey. And so I know you stayed until the end and really absorbed this message. Comment below. I'm with you until the end. This already creates a different connection, showing that you're not just watching, you're truly committed to making a difference. And if at any point you felt this video made you think differently, leave a like. It helps this content reach more people who are also trying to find a clearer path in this world of online income. Now, there's a video over here that perfectly complements everything we've discussed. It will help you take the next step with more direction. Click on it and continue reading. Leaf.